Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is a knife that I have reviewed before, but it's a different version of it. This is the QSP Penguin in titanium and 154 cm. I'll tell you guys right now, this is available. Sometimes I do this right at the beginning of the review. There are enough people who know what this is, right, and who probably know what I'm going to say. This is a recommendable knife. This is a knife you can pick up for 95 bucks. Now, if you want to stick around and hear my thoughts on it, I'll tell you. But I've reviewed the standard Penguin, the Knives Plus S35VN exclusive Penguin, and now we're going to talk about this one today. The only difference here is the blade material and the locking mechanism and the materials, like what the handle frame is made out of. But this is good. This is a good knife. I'm going to say a lot of nice things about it. So if you want to stick around, you can. But if you were wondering, does he like it? Does he not like it? Right? Yeah, I do. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. There's quite a few of these available. I'll link them down below so you guys, when you use the link, it'll go right to all the different variants. Let's go ahead and get a measurement real quick, just for people who don't know. Even though I've technically reviewed this, this is no different than the standard one. We're coming in at 7 inches. The blade length is more than 3 inches, so keep an eye on that. 3 1/8. The cutting edge is about 2.85 inches overall. Mixing up my units of measure. I know people love that. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Model 2, you can see here this is almost exactly the same size as the Rat 2. So if you're a fan of the Rat 2, the profile of it, how it carries, right? This knife carries very similarly. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and Spyderco Para 3? Closer to the size of the Para 3, but a little bit shorter. Definitely a little more cutting edge since you don't have a forward choil there. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out? The Bug Out is actually a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker, but it is somewhat similar in height. So I think if you like the Bug Out, you might like this one as well. Let's go ahead and put it up against what I've got here is the Knives Plus S35VN version, which some people are going to prefer. That's the nice thing here. You can get the version that you want. There's a D2 version of this for 30 bucks. The Knives Plus exclusive version, which I don't know if it's still available. That's the one you're seeing up here in S35VN for something like $60 to $70. And then you have this titanium one in 154 cm, which won't hold an edge as long as S35VN. I know people are going to immediately jump and say S35VN is a better steel than 154 cm because it holds an edge, but 154 cm is a little bit, in my opinion, more balanced. So while it doesn't hold an edge as long, it is still very stainless, still very tough. It's definitely easier to sharpen. A lot of people will prefer it over S35VN, and as I've said many, many times, while S35VN is one of my favorite steels, I do prefer 154 cm / CPM 154 because in the case of those two steels, even though the powder form version is generally considered the more premium, there's very little difference because the grain structure of 154 cm and its ingot form is very, very fine. I prefer that. I prefer the well-roundedness, and I really like how easy it is to sharpen. So you can make your choice there as far as which one you want to go with, but it is exactly the same size. We'll go ahead and do carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it's a little tiny bit thinner. How about up against the Bug Out? The Flytanium scales are aftermarket, but they are about the same thickness. It's really just a hair thicker than the Bug Out. It's really not that thick. How about length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3? You can see here carry profile on this guy is good. Not an issue here. Length and height, it's shorter than both, and even at its tallest point, it's not as tall as the hump area in the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3. Do a hardware check here real quick. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive, very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of the description that says My Tools. T8 for the pivot here. The other screws are T6 and they are minimal. This is a very easy knife to take apart. Is it running on phosphor bronze or bearings? The originals run on phosphor bronze. This guy, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it, actually runs on, it looks like phosphor bronze, but there are bearings in there. I made sure, you know, and looked through the shadows. You can see the little ball bearings in there. I don't know if it's actually going to be able to be. Can you just barely see it in there? I think, yeah, this is running on bearings. Action though, honestly, it's almost exactly the same. And if you've handled the original, it's really impressive. The action on the original is really, really impressive for phosphor bronze, but this guy is ridiculously smooth as well. No issues whatsoever. If you want to make sure that it's as smooth as it can possibly be, you can use some 10 weight nano oil, which I also have linked down in my tools section. There is no milling on the titanium on this guy, so this is going to be the heaviest of the bunch, but oh good, I put my scale way over here on Neptune today. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and weigh it real quick. Titanium Penguin weighs, oh my gosh, it's so heavy, 3.35 ounces. No, 3.35 ounces. That's a third of an ounce away from being what I consider to be ultra lightweight. So if you want to compare that with the original weight, you know, this one's going to weigh about as much as the D2 variant. This is the liner lock version, 3.14. Pretty negligible difference, right? Not many people are going to be like, I don't know, that extra 0.2 ounces. How am I going to be able to walk? Yeah, you'll be fine. So yeah, it's going to be largely the same experience. So here's the thing, guys. I've said this many times, moving into the actual review, because I think we've actually done everything we need to do there. I'm sick of satin finishes, and the originals, while they're great knives, especially the D2 variant for 30 bucks, right? If you're looking at these two and going, 60 or 100 bucks, that's still quite a bit, you know, for a pocket knife. The original's 30 bucks, which I'll link down below, and you can definitely get it. It's very recommendable. I'm just sick of the satin finishes on the less expensive knives, you know, so it's nice to get in this case, you have the option for what I think is a more premium looking tumbled finish, and it's just perfect. You can still get a satin finish on this. They have the darker titanium, which is what I have here. They have the stone wash. They've got blue. I think they've even got bronze, and you can get satin. You can get tumbled, or you can even get a black washed blade. So there's something for everybody. Between all of the different versions of the QSP Penguin that are available, you can get what you want, right? This titanium looks great. I requested when they said, do you want to look at the titanium version of the Penguin? I said, yeah, I'd like to take a look at that darker one because I think that's nice. The darker tumbled titanium in contrast with the tumbled blade. It looks great. Fit and finish all the way around on this guy is perfect. There's nothing out of place. The grind looks great. The flat looks great down to the, and then the drop down to the cutting edge, the way that it's sharpened, it's all fantastic. It's great. Edges are nicely knocked down, and it's very comfortable. Pocket clip is flat. This is different than the pocket clip that comes on the standard one. You have a little bit of a bill. This bill is not really that big of a deal. It has a continuous rise to meet the whatever thickness of pocket seam, but that's largely the case here too. You have a ramp. It just lays flat, so this one is a little bit more comfortable. Disengagement of the lock bar is easy because they've cut this area out right here so you can easily move that blade over and then drop it down into position. The thumb studs, they are exactly the same as on the original. They're a little bit pokey, and for whatever reason, they stick out past the frame. I don't understand this. These thumb studs should be a little less pointy, maybe a little fatter, a little wider, and they should be shorter. I don't think they need to stick out past the frame. It is very easy to do the reverse flick with this or the straight, you know, thumb stud, just the regular deployment. It's easy to do. This is it's straightforward, but there's plenty of fidget factor. You can do this all day. It's really not a problem. Plenty comfortable. I can get a full 4-finger grip on this guy, even though it's only a 7-inch knife. So yeah. Pretty good. They have the QSP logo on one side, and then on the other side, it just says 154 cm, which is great. I love this blade shape. This Wharncliffe blade is just fantastic for day-to-day stuff. Very easy to sharpen since it's just one continuous straight edge. You can do your draw cuts, right? Get into packages, whatever you're going to do, and it'll still slice. It's plenty thin. We didn't measure the blade stock thickness. We'll go ahead and do that. I don't think... Somebody asked me this the other day. They said, is one thinner? Is the new one thinner? I don't think so, but I never actually checked, so let's just do it right here in the middle of the review. You should really prepare better before you do a review. Nah, kind of just do things the way I want. 118 thousandths, and on the standard one, or well, in this case, we have 112 thousandths. Is that actually the case, or did I measure incorrectly? I wonder. Is this actually a little tiny bit thicker? We'll do it one more time. 117. And this guy Yeah, so the that's crazy. So this actually is a little bit thicker. Okay, well, that's weird. I wasn't expecting that, but it is just a little bit thicker. Do I think that's going to make a difference? No. It's still really thin. It's still going to slice just fine, right? But this is ever so slightly more robust. Is the scale thickness, the total scale thickness, the same? Actually, the titanium one is a little bit thinner than this this version here, and it'll be the same on the D2 and micarta one. So there you go. I actually didn't realize that. That's interesting. Okay, scale thickness or total, thickness is thinner than the original. Blade stock is a little bit thicker. I think that's pretty much all I can say about I guess that area of the knife. We have still the lanyard hole, right? A couple of nice standoffs back here. Pocket clip's different. We already went over that. We have a steel lock bar insert doubling as the over travel stop, which is nice on a titanium frame lock. We have good lockout, no blade play, up, down, left, or right, no slip or anything like that. Easy disengagement with no lock stick, and we have a dead centered blade. The one disadvantage to a frame lock is that it is exposed versus a liner lock that is not. What does that mean? It means when you go to deploy it on the liner lock, you don't have to think about where to put your fingers on this side. No matter how hard you squeeze, you're not putting any unnecessary pressure on the liner lock, which means it's always going to deploy the same way. On this guy, you have to be careful about where you're putting your fingers. If you put pressure on that lock bar and try to deploy it, you're gonna have a much harder time. You need to make sure your index finger and your middle finger are back here off the lock bar so that you can deploy it, right? Also, when you're using it, when you're squeezing it, you're putting excess pressure on that lock bar, potentially moving it in and speeding up the lock wear over time, but it's also making sure that that lock is staying securely in place. That's just factual information about how, what's going to happen when you're using it, right? But is it really going to cause a problem? I have been using frame locks for 10 years. Some of them I use really hard and some of them I baby. I've never really had an issue. Lock bars on titanium frame locks tend to settle in to a certain point and then they just don't go any further than that. It's perfectly normal for a frame lock to start out at something like 30 to 40% and then lock up somewhere around 60 to 80% and then stay there for a decade or more, right? So this guy has good geometry, right? Between the face and the lock bar itself, it's good. It's not slipping. It's not going anywhere. It's easy to disengage. If it does lock up a little bit further over time, no big deal. It's just, frame lock versus liner lock. If you like titanium frame locks and you like the Penguin, well, there you go. It's easy. Is the $96 price tag justified? Yeah. Yeah, this is nice. It's got a great steel. This steel is perfectly welcome in this price range, even if we weren't looking at titanium. Honestly, I like to see 154 cm / CPM 154 all the way up to, if we're being competitive here, I'm okay with it all the way up to about $150, and truthfully, I won't shy away from it when Hogue or ProTech use it on their $200 knives. I like the steel. It's good. People are going to automatically, well, the S35 VN's better because of edge retention. Edge retention is not the end-all, be-all of knife performance. S35 VN is great steel. It's great all the way around. It's very well rounded. 154 cm just has better total balance. Everything is closer together, right? It makes for an excellent EDC steel. If you look, literally throw a stone anywhere in the knife portion of the internet, you'll be hard-pressed to find anything bad about 154 cm as a composition. Most people will say, it's good. We don't have a problem with it. And I'm one of those people, right? So if you like this, if you really like, I have to have maximum edge retention, right? Then go with that one. But if you like titanium frame locks, this is nice. This is the most premium feeling by a long shot because of the titanium and, the bearings feel about the same. I do like the pocket clip a little bit better. I think that looks a little bit nicer, right? So this isn't a knife that I think everybody needs to rush out and buy. I think everybody should at least experience the least expensive version, the $30 version, right? So if you're a little wary about spending $95 on a knife that you're not sure if you're going to like, well, go for the $30 one, and then you can decide after that. Of course, that would, if you love it, that would lead to you spending more money. But you'll have two knives that you love, right? So yeah. There you go. This is really all the more that this needs to be. I know it's still a fairly lengthy review at 14 and a half, 15 minutes, right? But yeah, if you're wondering, do you recommend this knife? Yes, I do. It's not quite a budget knife, but it's also not necessarily an incredibly expensive knife at $95. This is recommendable. It's going to go on my most recommended knives playlist. I think QSP did a great job. There's very little to nitpick here. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it today. I don't think there really needs to be anything else in this review. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.